Welcome back to Book Summary Podcast. You know that feeling of having a million things like swirling around in your head? A to-do list that never ends? Today we're diving into this book that promises to banish that feeling forever. Getting Things Done by David Allen.
It's a classic. I mean, practically a Bible for the productivity-minded.
Yeah, I think you're right.
This book, it's not just about checking off more to-dos.
Right.
It's about a whole new way of thinking about how we engage with our commitments. It's called Getting Things Done, or GTD for short. And it's all about creating a system that gets everything out of your head and into a place where you can actually manage it.
Okay, imagine this.
Okay.
You're trying to focus on work, but there's this like nagging feeling in the back of your mind. Did you reply to that email? What about picking up dry cleaning? And that project deadline looming next week. These are what David Allen calls open loops, those unfinished tasks and ideas that just keep swirling around, draining our mental energy.
Absolutely.
The first step in GTD is capturing all these open loops. Get everything out of your head.
Out of your head.
And onto paper, into a digital note, or even just record it on your phone.
Yeah.
The point is to free up your mental RAM for the important stuff.
It's like taking a giant mental exhale.
I like that.
Suddenly your mind isn't trying to juggle a million things at once.
Yeah.
It can actually focus.
This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Once you've captured everything, you move on to clarifying.
Okay.
What exactly is each item? Is it actionable? If not, toss it.
Yeah.
File it away for reference or put it on that someday maybe list for those dreams you're not quite ready to tackle.
The someday maybe list is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it is actionable, you ask yourself the golden question.
Okay.
What's the next action?
That's right.
Not the entire project plan.
Right.
Just the very next physical step you need to take.
Yeah.
This forces us to be specific. Instead of plan vacation, it becomes research flights to Iceland.
Right.
Or call the travel agent. See the difference.
Yeah.
It breaks down those overwhelming tasks into manageable steps.
Absolutely.
What I find really fascinating here is how this simple shift in thinking already starts to reduce that feeling of overwhelm.
Yeah.
You're not staring at a mountain of tasks. You're just focused on the very next step.
Like, what's the one thing I can do right now to move this forward?
Yeah.
Just that one thing.
And that's just the beginning of the system. There's organizing those next actions into lists, the power of the weekly review to stay on top of it all, and finally the engage phase where you actually get things done.
Where the magic happens.
If you're intrigued by this mind like water idea and want to unlock your true productivity potential, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into life-changing books.
Then tell a friend.
But before we dive into the rest of the system, let's talk more about that capturing phase.
Okay.
It sounds simple, but trust me, it's a game changer. David Allen calls it the bedrock of the entire GTD methodology.
Yeah, the foundation.
Think about it. Our minds are constantly bombarded with information, to-dos, and ideas.
Right.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Exactly. And when we try to hold all that in our heads, it creates a constant state of stress and overwhelm. It's like trying to run a computer with too many programs open. Everything slows down and eventually the system crashes.
That's why capturing everything is so crucial. It's like hitting the pause button on that fire hose, giving ourselves a chance to catch our breath and process what's coming at us.
Right.
And it's not just about work tasks, it's about everything.
Everything.
That random idea you had for a birthday present, that book you want to read, that errand you need to run, get it all out of your head and into a trusted system.
I love that, a trusted system.
It could be as simple as a notebook,
a
digital note-taking app, or even just a voice memo on your phone.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
The key is to find what works for you and make it a habit.
Make it a habit, that's right.
This is what I struggled with at first.
Sure.
It felt almost unnatural to write down every little thing. But once I started doing it consistently, I couldn't believe the mental space it freed up.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's like clearing out all the clutter in your house.
Yeah.
Suddenly you can breathe easier and find what you're looking for.
Right, and you know where to find it.
And that's just the first step in the GTD process. We've got a lot more to cover, including clarifying those captured items and figuring out the next action for each one.
Yeah, that's next.
So make sure to stick around for parts 2 and 3 of this deep dive.
Absolutely.
And before we move on, if you're finding this helpful so far, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Book Summary Podcast for more insights on how to live a better, more productive life.
We appreciate you watching. Thanks.
We'll see you in part 2.
See you there.
Welcome back to Book Summary Podcast. We're continuing our deep dive into getting things done, exploring how to turn that mountain of captured stuff into a system that actually works. Last time we talked about the power of capturing everything, those to-dos, ideas, and random thoughts swirling around in our heads. Now let's talk about what to do with all that captured information.
Yeah, it can feel a little daunting at first, right? Like, okay, I've got this massive list, now what?
That's where the clarify step comes in.
Okay.
This is where you take each item you've captured and decide what it actually means
Right.
and what, if anything, you need to do about it.
Yeah, it's about turning that jumbled mess of information into clear, actionable steps.
Right. This is where we start to see the GTD system really take shape.
Yeah.
The first question to ask yourself is it actionable? Can you actually do something about this item right now?
Right now, that's right.
If not, you've got a few options. You can trash it if it's no longer relevant, file it away for reference if you might need it later, or put it on your someday maybe list
Yeah.
for those ideas or projects that aren't a priority right now.
The someday maybe list is my secret weapon.
Uh-huh.
It's where I park all those cool ideas that I don't want to forget,
Yeah.
but can't realistically tackle right now.
Mm.
It helps me avoid feeling guilty about not pursuing everything at once.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging those aspirations
Yeah.
without letting them clog up your mental bandwidth right now.
Right now.
But what if the item is actionable?
Then what?
This is where GTD gets really powerful. You ask yourself, what's the next action?
Okay, the next action.
This is key. Not the entire project plan, not the 5 steps you'll need to take next month, but the very next physical, visible action you can take right now.
Right. I love this.
This part was a revelation for me.
Mm.
Before GTD, I'd write vague to-dos like write report.
Yeah.
But that doesn't tell you where to start.
No, it doesn't.
GTD forces you to get specific. Open document, research statistics, draft introduction. Those are next actions.
Yeah.
And breaking it down like that makes it so much easier to actually get started.
So much easier.
There's no more decision fatigue or procrastination because you know exactly what to do next.
Yeah. It's like having a GPS for your to-do list.
Oh, that's good.
It guides you step by step so you don't get lost in the overwhelm.
So we've captured everything, we've clarified what's actionable, and we've defined those next actions. What's the next step?
Okay, so now it's time to organize those next actions into a system you can trust.
Okay.
GTD suggests using lists, but not just any old list.
Right.
There's a method to the madness.
This is where the beauty of GTD really shines. It's not just about writing things down. It's about organizing them in a way that makes sense for how you work.
Exactly. One of the key concepts here is context.
Okay.
You organize your next actions based on where you can do them, what tools you need, or even your energy level.
So you might have a calls list for those actions that require a phone, an at-computer list for tasks you can do online, and maybe even an errands list for those things you need to do when you're out and about.
Right, exactly.
I used to have one giant to-do list, and it was overwhelming just looking at it.
I know the feeling.
Now I have separate lists for work, home, and even creative projects.
Yeah, that's great.
It's so much easier to manage.
It really is. And that's just one way to organize.
Okay.
You might also create lists based on specific projects, energy levels, or even time available. The key is to find what works best for you.
Right. And this is where those waiting for lists come in handy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you've delegated something
Right.
or you're waiting for someone else to get back to you,
Yeah.
it keeps everything tracked in one place.
Mm-hmm.
No more wondering, did I ever follow up with so-and-so?
Right.
It's all right there on your list.
Exactly.
So we've got our lists, our actions are organized, and we're feeling good. But how do we keep this system from becoming another source of stress?
That's where the magic of the weekly review comes in.
Weekly review.
Yes. This is a non-negotiable part of GTD.
Yeah.
It's a dedicated time, ideally 2 hours each week, where you review your entire system and make sure everything is up to date and aligned with your goals.
I used to think of the weekly review as a chore,
Uh-huh.
but honestly, it's become one of my favorite parts of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mental reset, a chance to clear the decks and start fresh.
It's like a spa treatment for your brain.
Exactly. You go through all your list, process any new captures, check off completed actions, and make sure nothing has fallen through the cracks. It's about regaining control and getting that mind-like water feeling back.
Love that.
And speaking of mind-like water, I'm starting to see how all these GTD practices contribute to that state of calm focus.
Yeah, me too.
By capturing everything, clarifying what's actionable, and organizing those actions into a system we trust, We're essentially giving our minds permission to let go.
Totally. It's like we're telling our brains, hey, I've got this. You can relax now.
It's like finally closing all those tabs you had open in your browser.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, everything runs smoother and faster.
Exactly. And when we combine that external system with the regular practice of the weekly review, we create this powerful feedback loop that reinforces that sense of control and clarity.
Okay.
Because we know that everything's been captured, processed, and organized. We don't have to waste mental energy trying to remember everything.
Right.
Or worrying about things falling through the cracks.
And that frees up an incredible amount of mental space for creativity, problem solving, and just being present in the moment.
That's it.
This is what I've found to be the most transformative aspect of GTD. It's not just about getting more done. It's about feeling more at ease and in control of my life.
It's like that feeling of finally unpacking your suitcase after a long trip.
Oh, yeah.
Everything has its place, and you can finally relax and breathe.
And that sense of peace, that's what Mind Like Water is all about.
Right.
It's not about being emotionless or passive, but about being able to respond to whatever comes your way with clarity and focus.
You're ready for anything.
Imagine a still pond.
Okay.
When a pebble drops into it, there's a ripple.
Right.
But the water quickly returns to its calm state.
Yes.
That's how our minds can function with GTD.
Exactly.
We can handle those unexpected challenges, those last-minute changes, without getting thrown off balance.
Right.
Because we have that underlying trust in our system.
Yeah.
We can adapt and adjust without that feeling of panic or overwhelm.
Right. You've got this.
This is what really sold me on GTD.
Okay.
It's not about becoming a robot or rigidly sticking to a plan. It's about developing that mental flexibility to handle whatever life throws your way.
Yeah. You can roll with the punches.
And I think that's something we all need in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world.
Absolutely. But I also want to acknowledge that implementing GTD is not always easy. There are times when I resist capturing everything, or I get bogged down in the details, or I just don't feel like doing my weekly review.
That happens.
It's a practice, like anything else worth doing. It takes time and effort to build those habits and trust the system.
And I think it's important to be kind to ourselves in those moments of resistance.
Yeah, yes.
Remember your why. What are you hoping to achieve with GTD?
Yeah.
For me, it's about having more mental space for my family, being more present with my kids, and not feeling constantly overwhelmed by work.
Those are good ones.
And those are powerful motivators.
Yeah.
When you connect with those deeper reasons, it's easier to push through those challenging moments.
Absolutely. It's like reminding yourself why you started this journey in the first place.
Exactly. And another key is to start small.
Okay.
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Focus on one step at a time and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Right. Just get started.
Maybe start by committing to capturing everything for a week.
Yeah.
Or try dedicating just 30 minutes to your first weekly review.
Love it.
And remember, GTD is a framework, not a rigid set of rules. Adapt it to your needs. Experiment with different tools and techniques and find what works best for you.
That's right.
It's about creating a system that supports you,
Yeah.
not one that adds more stress to your life.
That's such an important point, and I think that's what makes GTD so enduringly popular.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all solution, but it's a flexible framework that can be tailored to any individual or situation.
And that's what we'll be exploring further in the final part of this deep dive. We'll talk about the deeper benefits of GTD and how it can help you achieve that elusive mind-like water state.
Looking forward to it.
But before we wrap up part 2, if you're finding this GTD journey helpful so far, hit that like button and subscribe to Book Summary Podcast for more insights on how to live a better, more productive life. We'll be back soon with the final part of this deep dive into getting things done.
See you there.
Welcome back to Book Summary Podcast for the final part of our deep dive into getting things done.
Looking forward to this.
We've explored like the nuts and bolts of the system.
Right.
From capturing those fleeting thoughts to organizing those actionable next actions.
Yeah.
But today we're going beyond just the mechanics.
Okay.
We're talking about the deeper impact of GTD, how it can actually change the way you think and feel.
That's powerful stuff.
It's about that mind-like water concept, right? That sense of calm and clarity that David Allen talks about.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are initially drawn to GTD for its productivity promises.
Right.
But it's this mental shift that truly sets it apart.
So in the first 2 parts, we talked about how GTD helps us externalize those open loops,
right?
Those nagging tasks and ideas that clutter our minds. And that's a huge part of it. But there's also a deeper psychological element at play here.
Definitely.
The book talks about how our brains are wired for survival,
Oh.
constantly scanning for potential threats and unfinished business.
Right. Always on the lookout.
So even when we're not consciously thinking about that looming deadline or that call we need to make, it's still taking up space in our mental bandwidth.
Exactly. It's like having a background program running on your computer.
Okay.
Draining its processing power even when you're not actively using it.
And that's where GTD comes in. By capturing everything and creating a system we trust, we're essentially telling our brains, hey, I've got this. You can stop worrying now.
It's like giving our minds permission to relax and focus on what's important in this moment.
It's like finally closing all those tabs you had open in your browser.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Suddenly everything runs smoother and faster.
Exactly. And when we combine that external system with the regular practice of the weekly review, we create this powerful feedback loop that reinforces that sense of control and clarity.
Because we know that everything's been captured,
Right.
processed, and organized.
Yeah.
We don't have to waste mental energy trying to remember everything or worrying about things falling through the cracks.
It's all taken care of.
And that frees up an incredible amount of mental space for creativity, problem solving, and just being present in the moment.
Absolutely.
This is what I've found to be the most transformative aspect of GTD.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting more done. It's about feeling more at ease and in control of my life.
It's like that feeling of finally unpacking your suitcase after a long trip.
I love that.
Everything has its place and you can finally relax and breathe.
And that sense of peace, that's what Mind Like Water is all about. It's not about being emotionless or passive, but about being able to respond to whatever comes your way with clarity and focus.
Yeah, you're ready for anything.
Imagine a still pond. When a pebble drops into it, there's a ripple, but the water quickly returns to its calm state. That's how our minds can function with GTD.
I like that visual.
We can handle those unexpected challenges,
Right.
those last-minute changes without getting thrown off balance.
You're prepared.
Because we have that underlying trust in our system. We can adapt and adjust without that feeling of panic or overwhelm.
Right.
You've got this.
This is what really sold me on GTD. It's not about becoming a robot or rigidly sticking to a plan. It's about developing that mental flexibility to handle whatever life throws your way.
Yeah, you can roll with the punches.
And I think that's something we all need in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world.
Absolutely. But I also want to acknowledge that implementing GTD is not always easy.
Yeah, it takes effort.
There are times when I resist capturing everything.
Yeah, I get that.
Or I get bogged down in the details. Or I just don't feel like doing my weekly review.
It happens.
It's a practice like anything else worth doing. It takes time and effort to build those habits and trust the system.
And I think it's important to be kind to ourselves in those moments of resistance.
Yes.
Remember your why. What are you hoping to achieve with GTD? For me, it's about having more mental space for my family.
That's a good one. Being more present with my kids and not feeling constantly overwhelmed by work.
Those are good goals.
And those are powerful motivators.
They are.
When you connect with those deeper reasons, it's easier to push through those challenging moments.
It's absolutely. It's like reminding yourself why you started this journey in the first place.
Exactly. And another key is to start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right. Take it one step at a time.
Focus on one step at a time and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Love it.
Maybe start by committing to capturing everything for a week, or try dedicating just 30 minutes to your first weekly review.
Yeah, just get started.
And remember, GTD is a framework, not a rigid set of rules.
Right.
Adapt it to your needs, experiment with different tools and techniques, and find what works best for you.
That's it.
It's about creating a system that supports you,
Yeah.
not one that adds more stress to your life.
Exactly.
So if you're feeling inspired to dive deeper into GTD,
Definitely.
we highly recommend checking out David Allen's book.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's full of practical advice, real-life examples, and those inspiring insights that we just didn't have time to cover in this deep dive.
We just scratched the surface.
And if you've enjoyed this deep dive and found it helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Book Summary Podcast for more insights on how to live a better, more productive life. We love exploring these life-changing books and sharing our takeaways with you. Thanks for joining us on this GTD journey. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling empowered to create a calmer, more productive life. Remember, it all starts with capturing those thoughts, clarifying what needs to be done, and trusting the system you create. And who knows, maybe you'll even achieve that elusive mind like water along the way.
We'll see you in the next one.